The views expressed by the host on this program rivet the nation. The views expressed by the host on this program are eagerly awaited every day by people who will admit it and people who will not admit it, but they're all there. I guess the views expressed by the host on this program, documented to be almost always right 99.7% of the time.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday!
Yes, my friends, we're back at it to wrap up another busy broadcast week here on the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. Happy to have you with us. Open Line Friday, whatever you want to talk about, pretty much is the rule. Think of it as a day to pretend that it's your show. Pretend that you're the host. And you can tell people what you think needs to be talked about, what needs to be said, just by dialing 800-282-2882. If you want to send an email, we check those as well. It's lrushbo@eibnet.com. And we obviously start in Baltimore today with the Baltimore State Attorney, Marilyn Mosby, a press conference a little over an hour ago, announcing that 6 officers are going to be charged varying degrees of second-degree murder and manslaughter in the transportation death, in the death of Freddie Gray. Now, many people are wondering what is really going on here. I would like to explain to you. I would like for somebody else to explain to you in one soundbite what is going on here. This is yesterday, and the National Action Network president, the Reverend Al Sharpton, speaking with reporters. This is really what you need to know.
We need the Justice Department to step in and take over policing in this country. In the 20th century, they had to fight states' rights to get the right to vote. We're going to have to fight states' rights in terms of closing down police cases. Police must be held accountable.
We need a national takeover of policing in this country, and that is what is happening. If you've heard the term social justice bandied about over the course of your life and wondered what it really meant, aside from another way of expressing liberalism, the press conference today by Ms. Mosby, the state attorney, pretty much defines social justice as opposed to real justice. We all have random thoughts on this, and it's very early. There's some things here that are peculiar, contradicting. All week we've been treated to stories in the media about a rough ride that Freddie Gray had in the van. She didn't even reference that once. And what we have here essentially, if you strip it all down, is the police officers who've been charged with second-degree murder and manslaughter basically are being charged with that crime for failing to strap Freddie Gray in the seatbelt in the back of the police van. Now, the seatbelt law for prisoners in a van, the law requiring them to be secured in a police van, I've found out, looking it up I've been feverishly trying to find things out this morning before the program began, is relatively new. And I even had some people tell me that the police officers involved might not have even known about it. It was so new. And an interesting angle on all of this. First, let's listen to we've got some sound bites here. This state's attorney is focused. She is passionate. She is no nonsense. And if you didn't hear any of her press conference, we have 3 sound bites that will explain or give you an idea and set up what is next to come. So here's the first of the 3.
The findings of our comprehensive, thorough, and independent investigation, coupled with the medical examiner's determination that Mr. Gray's death was a homicide, which we received today, has led us to believe that we have probable cause to file criminal charges.
Now, you heard the cheering there, and it's important to note that. It is important to note that the crowd gathered around cheered, and the city is cheering. She gave the city of Baltimore, many of the people in the city of Baltimore, what they wanted to hear today. And here's the next bite. We'll just run these things by you and then have at it.
To the people of Baltimore and the demonstrators across America, I heard your call for no justice, no peace. Your peace is sincerely needed as I work to deliver justice on behalf of this young man. To those that are angry, hurt, or have their own experiences of injustice at the hands of police officers, I urge you to channel the energy peacefully as we prosecute this case. I have heard your calls for no justice, no peace. However, your peace is sincerely needed.
Remember that bite. We'll come back to it here in a couple of quick seconds, but here is the final sound bite that encapsulates this.
Last but certainly not least, to the youth of this city, I will seek justice on your behalf. This is a moment. This is your moment. Let's ensure that we have peaceful and productive rallies that will develop structural and systemic changes for generations to come. You're at the forefront of this cause, and as young people, our time is now.
Now, wait. Hold on here just a second. The cause? She's a state's prosecuting attorney. A state attorney. Some people call them district attorneys, but she's a state's attorney here. And she's got a bunch of people working under her that'll actually try the case. By the way, in case you're wondering, the reason we didn't play sound bites of her reciting the charges, it would take from now until the end of the half hour. It would take an extreme. She went through every possible charge for all 6 of these cops. And it would take from here to 12:30. It'd take me 15 minutes maybe to run through all that. And we just don't have that kind of time. You just have to understand, they've had the book thrown at them, these 6 cops. Second-degree murder, negligent homicide. They've thrown everything at these guys. And that is also an interesting point. But before I go back to soundbite number 2, last but not least, to the youths of this city, I will seek justice on your behalf. Remember, we're talking social justice here. For what I think the legal system, what Reverend Sharpton meant here in the first soundbite, I'm going to go ahead and say this. What Reverend Sharpton is talking about is looting the legal system. When he talks about a national takeover of policing, in this case, he's talking about looting the legal system. That's what they're going to do. They're sick and tired of what they think is this never-ending bias and prejudice and racism. They're sick and tired of the way the cops treat them, and they in their minds, they've tried to work peacefully. They've supported Democrats. They've voted Democrats. They're in a Democrat town, but damn it, nothing's working. We're going to have to take over. And that's what he's talking about. So he's talking about looting the legal system, national takeover of policing. She comes along and starts talking about the cause. 1 and 1 equals 2. This is a moment. This is your moment. What, the charging of 6 cops? Or the death of Freddie Gray? What is the moment? Let's ensure that we have peaceful, productive rallies that will develop structural and systemic changes for generations to come. You are at the forefront of this cause, and as young people, our time is now. Now, some may think that all she's doing is asking for calm and making that part of the moment, the justice equals calm. And that could very well be. But I think that there's a lot more going on here. Now, back up to the previous soundbite. To the people of Baltimore and to demonstrators across America, I heard your call for no justice, no peace. Your peace sincerely needed. To those that are angry, hurt, or have their own experience of injustice at the hands of police officers, you see, this is it's an agreed to it's an accepted presumption. It is an accepted from the state's attorney in Baltimore. We have the stated assumption that police departments are biased against African Americans, totally unfair, including in cities that are run by elected Democrats. Now, one of the interesting things I saw, they went to one of the networks, it might have been CNN, went to find men on the street, men and women on the street, after the state's attorney's press conference to ask them what they thought. And there was this old, crusty African-American guy who wasn't buying it. He didn't believe a word of this. He said, I'm paraphrasing, "Are you kidding me? All of these charges? They don't intend to pursue all of these charges. They're never going to take all of these charges into court. You can't fool me. This is just charges. This is just designed to stop the rioting." This old codger thinks that what this whole thing today was a giant attempt by local authorities to tell the rioters that they are going to bury these guys. They're going to charge them with everything they can. We got it handled. Now stay home. And this old crusty codger said, I am not going to believe any of this till I see it in court. And I'm not going to believe any of this until I see convictions. I'm not buying into any of this yet. He wasn't totally doubting. He wasn't totally suspicious. I mean, there were some things he liked about it, obviously, but I'm just highlighting his suspicions about what's really going on here. And he does have a point. I mean, they've thrown the kitchen sink at these guys. I would get into the specifics of it. Like, second-degree murder, what do we have here? We have a guy that was caught doing something of a criminal nature with a long rap sheet, and he's put in the back of a police wagon, and at some point says he can't breathe, and at some point is severely injured, and we don't know who, when, where, why. And the paddy wagon did not take him immediately for medical attention, didn't take him to a hospital when he said he couldn't breathe and he was in pain. They stopped 2 or 3 places to pick up more prisoners, do other things. They didn't strap him in with a seatbelt. And they finally got him to where he was going. And from that, we got negligent homicide. We have second-degree homicide. I mean, that's barely scratching the surface of what these 6 cops have been charged with. And no, the racial component of the cops was not announced or revealed. I don't know how many of them are black, white, if any are either or. Don't have any idea. They didn't announce that. They said that the medical examiner has determined here that the death was a homicide. Now, I wanted to find out what second-degree murder is in the state of Maryland. And I found it at a website called pricebenowitz.com, Maryland Homicide Lawyer MD. Second-degree murder covered under Maryland Criminal Code 2-204 makes it illegal to commit any murder, even if it was not premeditated, willful, or deliberate. Okay? So we can conclude from that murder is illegal in Baltimore, Maryland. The distinction between second-degree murder and manslaughter is the intent. Therefore, a second-degree murder must be intentional. This is from the Maryland Criminal Code. For example, accusations made by the state that a defendant murdered another person in a fit of unplanned rage would likely result in a second-degree murder charge. Now, the Maryland Code doesn't spell these things out. This is the consensus from several sites here. But how can anybody claim that these officers were intentionally trying to kill Mr. Gray by not putting a seatbelt on him or not going immediately to the hospital or wherever? I mean, it requires, best I've been able to find here, second-degree murder versus manslaughter. Second-degree murder must be intentional. And not all of the cops have been charged with it, but I think 3 or 4 were.